Alhamdulillah kita bisa bertemu kembali bersama di acara parenting, tim parenting dari Subdep Departemen Parenting IMSA Sister. Saya Laili dari Las Vegas bersama Chaplain Sakinah Alhabsi. Kita bertemu kembali. Kali ini kita akan bersama-sama bertemu khusus di Zoom, di Facebook dan di YouTube hanya untuk di streaming saja. Jadi kalau ada yang mau mendaftar di kelas kita, ayo kita mendaftar sama-sama. Jadi kita bisa berinteraksi lebih banyak lagi. Untuk itu kita buka dulu kebersamaan kita dengan membaca Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kemudian membaca Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin arrahmanirrahim maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma warzuqni hikmah. Alhamdulillah bersama saya sudah ada Chaplain Sakinah Alhabsi. Saya juga dibantu oleh Mbak Ainu, Mbak Erni. Semoga kita semua bisa belajar bersama-sama. Kali ini topiknya membangun cinta dengan komunikasi dan empati. Building love through communications and empathy. We have Sister Sakinah over here. If I could have, let me greet her. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Laili.
How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah, doing good.
Alhamdulillah.
A bit of a cold day di Bay Area, tapi yes, it's to stay warm inside.
It's almost 90 here in Las Vegas already. So
you skip spring langsung ke summer agaknya.
It's just jumping into the summer right away. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so as you promised last week, inshallah everybody is like exciting about today because this is a topic that would be it's like a foundation, seperti foundation yang akan kita pakai selalu, yang kita akan selalu refer to untuk kemudian kita pakai selama bulan Ramadan dan kemudian kita bisa ketemu lagi setelah Ramadan untuk refleksinya. Untuk itu tempat dan waktu saya berikan untuk Chaplain Sakinah.
Jazakallahu khairan. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ibu-ibu, bapak-bapak. Welcome to our session today, Membangun Cinta dengan Komunikasi dan Empati, Building Love Through Communication and Empathy. I appreciate that you're spending your time, your energy, investing your heart into this. We all have different intentions for being here. Just want us to take a few moments untuk take a deep breath, untuk come to this space together and kind of just focus as we sit down and try to bring our mind, our heart, our body into this space with the intention of getting Allah, rida from Allah, getting help from Allah in supporting us in raising a family, and asking for any other intention that you have to make that niat, pasang niat gitu kan, we say make that niat as we begin our session. Let's just take a moment to do that on our own and release that to Allah, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, we have a lot to cover. I'm going to try. Sometimes what I struggle with is like there's so much I want to share, but at the same time, I also want to hear your voices And this is going to be, inshallah, a little bit conversation style as well. And as we go along, if you have any questions, you can just unmute to speak pun nggak apa-apa, or you can type in the chat. We'll try to keep monitoring the chat as well. And Mbak Laili will also help me to do that as we go along, yeah? And there will be a few points in the presentation where we will stop and have a little bit of a discussion. Cuma we just want to draw attention that we have limited time and the material to cover. And this is not a personal consultation session. Ini session for the group as a whole. We will learn some tools and tips. If you want like more personal consultation, we need to arrange that outside of this group session gitu ya. Jadi we can have more detail kalau mau curhat, kalau mau bincang konsultasi yang lebih mendalam. Di sini bukan waktu itu untuk hari ini, tapi insyaAllah we can arrange privately, separately. For today, we'll try to cover a bit more in general, and that can benefit more people in general. Inshallah, Bismillah. So, first of all, what we'll go through today is a little bit on why this is important. Why are we looking at building love, communication, and empathy and these topics? Second part is we'll discover a little bit more what does empathy mean and how it looks like in our daily life. And then we will go through a little bit on one of the tools that I've chosen. So there's a lot of tools that we can use, and as we're approaching conversation around self-awareness, understanding ourselves, man arafa nafsahu arafa rabbahu. So we need to also be aware, arif tentang diri kita untuk know our relationship with Allah, our relationship with our family, our children, our loved ones. How are we communicating? What's going on inside us? That's another important part of it. So we'll use maybe the 5 love languages, and from an Islamic perspective, also some relationship to that. And then we'll talk a bit about curiosity. I think curiosity, bahasa Indonesianya penasaran kan, Ibu Laili?
Yes.
Penasaran, yeah. So how do we have that semangat of like penasaran, curiosity, to really want to understand another person, whether it's your child or it's each other, spouse in the family unit, gitu kan? And then we'll have another little section on the toolbox for empathy. So very quickly, like what are some of the tips and common approaches that we have when we are trying to show empathy, or we're trying to feel that empathy in our communication. Let's do a time check. Okay. So why are we all here? I mean, inshallah, some of the things that we had the intention when kita pasang niat tadi when we began kan, maybe some of us said that we want to understand ourselves better. Maybe some of us said we want to understand our children better. I don't understand what's going on in my child's head now. They're teenage years, a lot of questions. They're hiding from you. Maybe they're not communicating and sharing what's going on in their lives in this transition time. Maybe some of you want to know how you can improve your communication style and how you can communicate more efficiently or with more empathy. Maybe some of you are here with the intention of like how to navigate conflict. Sekarang banyak konflik, banyak argument di rumah gitu sama anak-anak or sama teenagers. What can you learn maybe in navigating conflict a little bit? Maybe that's some of these things that are coming up today as we're here. As we begin, I want to share a video with you. And the reason that I'm starting the session with this is that in order to be a good communicator, in general, these are the qualities that come with being a good communicator. Kita harus punya ada high self-awareness. So you really need to pay attention. How am I talking to my children or to my spouse? What am I feeling? Atau how am I reacting to what they are doing or what they are saying? If they come back from school, marah-marah or gitu kan, then okay, so what's going on inside me? How am I getting also agitated atau is this bringing my mood up or down? Am I feeling more upset, less upset? So before we even begin communicating, step 1 is stepping back and knowing myself, knowing my communication style, knowing my patterns of in being in relationship with somebody. And then the second part of a good communicator is knowing that for another person, like being aware to pay attention to other people punya emotions, other people punya energy, other people punya words, body language. Sometimes, especially with children or teenagers, sometimes they're not using their words, but they're using their face. Mukanya dah lain, matanya dah rolling up, or whatever. They're just like different kinds of reactions that you might get. So to be able to understand what's going on with the other person and pick up, they look a bit down or they look a bit mad, or like what's going on behind that. Fourth quality is that sort of the curiosity that we will talk about in more detail, to be able to ask sebenarnya apa yang behind what you are seeing. And sometimes what you're seeing is not exactly what they're going through. And then to listen to understand. Sometimes what we are doing is when we listen to what our children are saying or anyone is saying, kita sudah ada perception of some kind. We already have a certain assumption atau perception. Oh, yeah, dia mesti begini-begini because of this. I know them. I know her. She's my child. Or I know this. He's my spouse. Like, I know what he's thinking. Maybe that's true, 50%, maybe even more, 60% of the time. Maybe you're sharp at knowing what they're thinking. And then sometimes maybe that's not true. And we're listening ready, kita not ready to respond, but we're not really listening to really understand. And so just an awareness of that might be happening, and for us to slow down a little bit, which I know is not easy, and that's why we're here. It's a continuous journey to keep improving ourselves and our and that awareness. Okay, let me share this video here. I might need to share again because I don't know if I shared the sound. Bismillah. Okay. Do you hear the sound?
Yes.
Wow, there's so much in that short movie, Chaplain, Sakinah. Like it's, like, and now like if we imagine our 14 years old coming home from school and look just exhausted or look very happy, either way, and then lock themselves in the room, we need to find out more maybe what's really going on. Like what is it that they have in here?
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes we make assumptions about what's going on in here, but actually it's something very different out there.
Yeah.
Was there one from that clip that struck out to you specifically, Laili, in this moment?
I think it was the guy with the crutches and with the neck holder, because he had an accident about 6 months ago, but it looks like he just had the accident. Then I think the second line hit me even worse, because and the pain doesn't go away, because you thought of, okay, like, hey, how are you doing? Oh my gosh, what happened to you? He's been having all of this pain for the past 6 months, not just recently. That's the one thing that's kind of hit me the most.
I'd like to give 1 or 2 minutes, ibu-ibu, bapak-bapak, whoever is in the Zoom room. Any of you would like to share your thoughts or your reflection just based on the video tadi?
Yeah, the video really touches me, and it reminds me of the hadith that smile is a charity.
Smile is sadaqah. Smile is a charity. Go on, Ibu Ira. How does it remind you of that? I'm hearing your tears, and that's okay. Your tears are also welcome in this space.
Sometimes we are just very busy with our own things, and we cannot see others. Probably they need just a small smile.
Thank you, Baira, for sharing.
Sometimes that small smile can make them feel really seen and really heard, even though you don't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
Anybody else would like to share your reflection or thoughts from the video?
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
I see that the men that try to be recover from the pain that they have, and they're not able to be paid for the treatment.
Yeah.
So he's not completely open over there to do the treatment because he got a cloud on the head,
Yeah.
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 And then also I see that the security with the dog can release the pain of the young kid that after see the father for the last time. In final, like in the terminal ill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I see. Yeah.
Thank you, Mbak Olivia.
Yeah.
Your first reflection, sometimes we hear or we assume there's good news, kind of like, oh, good news, you can get treatment. Okay, tapi at the back of your mind, you're worried about many, many things, and you're not even really feeling the good news, and people don't see that side of it. They just see, oh, good, your child got into this college, or this happened, or your child got number 1 or something, but they don't see there might be other pain that's behind that. Or if your son comes back from school with good grades and that looks amazing, and sometimes that covers the pain that he might be going through in a different part of his life.
Yeah.
And the security guard and the dog that you mentioned who can bring joy to somebody who
Yeah, Sam looked like the smile as a charity because the animal, especially the animal already in the training, they can send the people that need the release, you know, the tension, you know. So like the kid touched the dog and then what they said that they carried from the room, so release a little bit, you know, make the child smile.
This will kind of, this theme will come back towards the end of our talk as well. Sometimes the actions that we want to take to show empathy or to receive empathy, it doesn't have to be like big, amazing things, big family meeting or big family discussion. Enggak, it doesn't have to be like that. Sometimes it's the consistency in the small things.
Yeah. Somebody present in your struggle, listen to you, that's help you lift up the carry that you have on your shoulder, you know. Yeah.
And sometimes it's a little bit of quiet space at home, kan, when the children are busy.
When you, like you say, give your space, take your deep breath, and then or say astaghfirullah, and then or say alhamdulillah, even though you are in the hard condition, you say alhamdulillah. I mean, maybe you have a problem with a thing that you have, and then thinking somebody that don't have anything.
And also the power of animals. You mentioned the dog. When there's a lot of research also that talks about youth and children going through difficult life transitions and having the responsibility of taking care of an animal in the house. I know some of us, maybe we have cats or rabbits or birds or hamster atau apa-apalah yang di rumah kita punya pets, right?
To still the tension or the of the struggle, and then focus on something. So make them something that have to be responsible.
There's a little bit of joy that comes with having sometimes in the home, and also a bit of that sense of responsibility and accountability. Sometimes when the children are also responsible to take care of the pets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing, all of you who contributed to the conversation, and for listening. Those who haven't said anything, you're welcome to listen. You're welcome to join us and share your voice a bit later if you'd like. I'll share the screen and move on to the next section. Anything else before I continue, Will Ali?
No, that's, thank you for sharing, Mbak Ira dan Mbak Olivia.
All right. Do you see? Let's see what you see. Benar? Oh, bukan. Start balik. Okay. So, like I said, Bismillah. The first thing we're gonna share, like in our toolbox today, is understanding the concept of the love languages, and some call it the language of appreciation or the language of love. It originally started with Dr. Gary Chapman, who's a psychologist and a marriage and family counselor. And this is like the technique that he uses to help families understand each other better. And then since then, it's sort of grown also like language of appreciation in schools or in office, workplace, different things. I like this approach for me to understand myself, understand my partner, and then understand children, family. So I'll share a little bit with you today. And I've used it also to reflect along the lines of Rasulullah Sallallahu life and some stories from the Sirah, and how a lot of these examples are what we already do and practice as a Muslim in our Sirah. It's just sort of framed in this framework that's a little bit helpful. I've put the link for the quiz on this slide. Nanti bisa try, you can do it yourself, and you can have your children do it if they want to. If your children are teenagers, there's a specific section on the website. It's free. This is the free version, the short version. If you want the long version, 1 hour, you have to pay for that, but this is like the short 10-minute version. And so there's a section for adults, for teenagers, and for children. If it's for younger children, you can answer on their behalf based on their communication patterns and styles, and then you will get a little bit of the result. Of course, this isn't about like setting it to be like a fix, it must be like this, but at least it gives us a little bit of an idea of what kinds of languages of appreciation and love that each of us prefer and each of us like to use. And then maybe that can help us to be better communicators within the family. The 5 languages that he talked about is touch, physical touch, service, acts of service, suka berkhidmat gitu kan, kita berkhidmat kepada ibu bapa, berkhidmat pada keluarga. Words of affirmation yang lebih pada verbal, the thank yous, the I love yous, the I appreciate you because of this, the good job. For some people, hearing good job, you did a wonderful day, I really appreciate that. They don't really mind the words, they rather have like a touch, a hug, or a hug or a kiss. And for some people, maybe they appreciate a gift, like don't tell me good job, buy me something or give me something. And so it's just different types of things that we appreciate and prefer. And sometimes we're not aware, we feel like, yeah, we're all the same. Yeah, I like giving gifts, so you should like receiving gifts. Tapi nggak semestinya. And then you have like 4 children, and maybe all 4 children have different kinds of love languages. This child number 1 likes to receive gifts. Child number 2 wants to spend time with Umi or with Baba and be close to Umi and Baba physically. Child 3 is like, I don't like to be hugged physically, I don't like to be close, but I like to sit and talk with you. So each child will be different. You might be different. Your spouse might be different. So just have an awareness of the different types of languages of love and appreciation that's available in your home. I love this love tank, appreciation tank. It kind of reminds me like when we interact with each other gitu kan, kalau kita receive a positive feeling from our parents, from our children, from our spouse, jadi it's sort of like filling your tank, right? You can feel love, you can feel full of love and joy gitu when you're going through positive experiences and you're receiving a good interaction. And then of course there will be things that happen that might reduce the volume in the tank kan. Something bad happens, the gaduh, fighting, conflict about something, or trust is broken, or you've asked your child to clean the room 10 times and he still hasn't done it 10 times, so you ask him to come back at a certain time, he doesn't come back at a certain time. So that sort of like leaks the love out of the tank a little bit. And what we need to keep doing in life is to keep filling up the tank with a lot of the positive experiences, and knowing that some will leak out. And then how do we keep doing that so that our tank remains at least, ya jangan sampai the light is red and the gas is finished and we're like running on empty, and that will be a lot harder to try and rebuild. So one good thing about a session like this is if you are able to have that awareness and then have that communication more with each other, with your family. Jadi nggak tanknya udah habis 0 baru nak jadi, you want to ask for help, right? When it's right at 0 already. We always want to kind of at least be above half, inshallah. And that's an ongoing process all the time. So specifically, let's go into 5 of the love languages now. The first is physical touch. So there was a hadith Rasulullah in Ibn Majah was recorded that a Badwi from the desert came to meet Rasulullah and asked, do you kiss your children? And Rasulullah said yes, because they had heard and they had seen like Rasulullah interaction with children, with his grandchildren, very warm gitu kan. Even when Rasulullah was praying, and kalau cucunya Hassan or Hussein would ride on his back, he will stay in the sujud. He will stay in the sujud, he will let them play. So this wasn't really like normal for some of the desert people around that time. They were maybe a little bit more rough with their children. And so seeing Rasulullah being so gentle and being so physical with the children created a little bit of curiosity. And so this man was saying, but we never kiss our children. We don't do these things. Like we're like tough guys. Why would we do these things? But Rasulullah responded very clearly, what can I do if Allah has taken away rahmah from you, taken away mercy from you? That always like strikes me so strongly when we show like, oh, Islam and men have to be like tough and strong and firm all the time. Like, okay, sure. And where's this balance? Where's this rahmah? Where's this love? Where's that physical affection that your children need to get from you before they go looking for it outside the house, and before they start craving physical affection in places that is not healthy for them to be getting it? You know, they should be getting it from us within the home first, that love tank to be filled by us. And other hadith where Rasulullah was seen to be like physically close with his wives, with his children, with his sahaba, sitting closely with his sahaba, touching, holding their knee, leaning on their shoulder, riding the horse together. Kan gitu rapat kan, there's always that sort of closeness. I'm going to see, should I go into this? I'm not going to go, you will have the slides, so I'm not going to go into the detail of each page because we want to cover a bit more things. And I think conversation is important, and I'm feeling like people might want to share a little bit more. So you'll have the slides from the organizers nanti. The second page of each love language, I just list a little bit more about specific examples, and you can take a look at your own time. And at the bottom, I have a section on how this comes up in your spirituality and ibadah. Because I teach in another class, I'm borrowing some of the material from my other class. So I teach in another class specifically about our patterns in ibadah. And kadang-kadang each of us is different. We like to do ibadah in a different way. And so maybe that some of that is related also to our preferences in language of love and language of appreciation, because that's how we interact with Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also. Mungkin some people, for them doing dhikr is easy, using like words of affirmation kind of thing, like to dhikr, like to use verbal dhikr. For some people, maybe sitting down and making dhikr is hard, tapi they like to do physical ibadah. They like to help people around the house. They like to help their parents. They like to physically help the community. For some people, they like maybe spending quality time with Allah quietly by themselves, and or doing like a retreat, like a khalwa. Some people don't like that. They like social activities, but it's all ibadah. It's all ibadah. It's just different kinds of ibadah. And again, understanding your own patterns and understanding the patterns of your family members. And you say, no, everybody must do ibadah this way. Yeah, yang wajib. Salah, we all have to salah. That's different. I'm talking about other parts of the ibadah and Islamic activities that you want to have in your home that might look different, and that each child may prefer different things. So you might want to take that into consideration. Why anak ini nggak suka pergi iftar sama ramai-ramai? Yeah, okay, but maybe they like to do some other kinds of ibadah that they can do, and you can invite them to. So that's the second part of the slide at the bottom. The second love language is quality time. This is a very famous hadith, and I think many of you know it, from Abdullah ibn Abbas, when he shared that he was riding with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the same horse or camel. I don't remember this hadith. It's horse or camel. He was riding with Rasulullah sallallahu together, and then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Young man, I will teach you some words. Be mindful of Allah. Allah will take care of you. Be mindful of Allah, and you will find Him by your side. You ask of Allah. If you need help, seek help from Allah. Know that if the whole world were to gather together in order to help you, they would not be able to help you with Allah, unless Allah has written so. And if the whole world were together to harm you, they would not be able to harm you unless Allah has written so." The pens have been lifted and the pages are dry. For this hadith, normally people focus on the message, and the message is very important. I'm not saying the message is not important. What I'm saying is I want us to reflect on this hadith from the lens of quality time. Rasulullah SAW was riding with Ibn Abbas. Ibn Abbas was young. He was young at this time. I think in some narrations he was about 12, 14, 10, gitulah kayak umurnya. He wasn't he wasn't an adult. He was still a youth. A teens. When he was riding with Rasulullah SAW. And he was close, riding together, on the same horse, on the same camel. So that one-on-one quality time with his mentor, with his role model, with his teacher, with his parent, was precious and led to a hadith that we are all benefiting from until now. So just that invitation that Rasulullah SAW, cara dia mengajar, the way that he would teach and do da'wah is different from person to person also. And I feel that Allah gives Rasulullah SAW like all the knowledge in the world, whatever that he needs to know. And he was also very good at knowing which Sahaba would learn what's the best way, what's the effective way to communicate and to teach with each Sahaba or with each person. And this is one example to me that lifts up that quality time. They were on a ride together. It was just the two of them on that horse. There were other people around, but this conversation was private. This conversation was just the two of them and that quality time. So just, yeah, one of the special reflections on that I find heartwarming. Yeah, so also for quality time, I have the examples of spirituality and ibadah on the next slide. For words of affirmation, words of appreciation, the good job, you're doing great, and things like that, and encouraging your loved ones verbally. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in this narration and in many other narrations, "Man la yashkurun nas la yashkurullah." Man la yashkurun nas la yashkurullah. So how strong that message of expressing appreciation, even to our child, even to our parents, especially to people in our home. Kan we take it for granted. Yeah, memanglah mama cooks dinner every night. Mama cooks dinner. Okay, how often do I thank mama for cooking dinner, even though she does it every night? How often do I like really appreciate that food or praise her for the food? Whether it's for your parent or for your child or from them to you or just all around to each other, that it's not easy. I'm saying the words here. It doesn't mean I'm practicing it all the time either. I need this reminder more than anybody else. And then also another hadith where Rasulullah SAW was telling Aisha that Allah is a rifq, gentleness. Kalau yang namanya Rafiq itu dari rifq, dari nama Allah, the one who's most gentle. And the reward for gentleness is not the same as what is granted for harshness. And there is no other reward than the reward for gentleness. Being gentle, being tender in our words, in our action to people, especially to those who are close to us. The hadith that talks about Ramadan and fasting, Siyam, also talks like that the reward for Ramadan, the reward for Siyam is like no other reward. Kan jadi kayak begitu special the reward, like nggak bisa di measure, nggak bisa di compare with anything else. And that comes from that tenderness, that appreciation. Is anything in the chat? No, okay. And last, is it last? Maybe one more. Is gifts. Tahadu, tahabu. For those who like to memorize hadith, this is the shortest hadith that you can memorize. One of my sheikh was telling us the list of like all the short hadith, so at least you can say you memorize 10 hadith or something. And this is probably the shortest hadith that's out there. Tahadu, tahabu. So give gifts and you will love one another. And the second one is about not looking down on somebody's gift, even if it's something small. Sheep's hoof tukar, because zaman dulu they used to cook soup or stew or something from the animal. So even if you just give the kaki of the kambing, the hoof of the sheep, that's something we should appreciate and not look down on somebody, however small the gift is. It's about the intention. It's about the barakah, even if it's a small amount. And just being more aware of like what your child or your spouse might be interested in, what kind of activities that they enjoy, and try to like be more attentive to the kinds of gifts that they might prefer. And the last one is acts of service, khidmah service. Al-Aswad said that he asked Aisha radiallahu anha what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do in the house, and Aisha said that he would serve his family, and then when the time for prayer came, he would go to the masjid to pray. So the first was serving the family and then prayer. It wasn't like salah. Of course, salah is wajib. That's not what we're arguing. I'm just saying that in this context, she talked about that the majority of his time was serving his family. And then when it was time to pray, he would go to pray, and then he would continue serving his family and his community, but it begins at home. So this sort of principle of showing love and appreciation to each other by providing service. And I think as a parent, this is something that already automatically by default you're doing a lot and all the time, and might not be very appreciated by your youth or teenagers or children all the time. And just as a maybe a self, to comfort yourself like gitu kayaknya kan, like we know this is ibadah, you know that all the things that you're doing around the home for your loved ones, for your children, for your spouse is ibadah, we know that. And some days it's still hard, and some days it's still like, am I the only one doing all this? And that will happen, and that's okay. So then we come back to what I said earlier, then breathe, just breathe and take a break. Like, what are the things, so this is another talk, what are the self-care things that you need to do for yourself to be able to rejuvenate your energy, to be able to rest, to be able to ask for help and not try to do everything by yourself. Different topic, but just relating that to this a little bit. I'll leave the ibadah examples, but I kind of like the cartoon here about the different kinds of acts of service that happens around the house. And as your children grow older, sometimes, inshallah, they become a little bit more attentive also of like different ways that they can show you love, and through their acts of service, by helping in the home and offering. Let's take a pause here. Okay, come back and see everybody's faces or everybody's Zoom screens. Any thoughts, Ibu Laili, or others you want to share, or things you learned from the love languages that you feel might be useful, or things you might already be using in your home that you want to share with the group? Mute.
Can you hear me now? Okay. I do use that gift one, but I don't go big one because I love Hallmark, and Hallmark always have all this kind of like little cards, you know. With Hannah, cards do good, but with Ryan is something, you know, something else. But I do love the little gift, and I think that hadith really works because I've seen it, you know, in my own family. So that's coming in for me. Anyone else want to share?
Let's see, we've got more people in the room already.
Yeah, we do.
Anyone else would like to share? Just unmute and go ahead and speak.
About thanking, usually when I do something and then if it is something and my kids don't notice it, I don't want them to take it for granted and also doing that to other people. So what I would do, not all, but on certain cases, I would say, after I gave it to them or did something for them and then they were just quiet, I would say, "Thank you, Mama, you are so kind."
I love that. You just say it yourself. Yeah.
Yes, and then they will say it.
That's awesome, Baira. May I know how old are your children right now?
Hadia is 11 and then Java is 9.5.
Okay.
11 and a half.
That's a good age, yeah.
And that's a technique in psychology, Mbak Ira. Namanya modeling. So you are modeling the behavior that you want them to follow. So that I support that.
Thank you.
Word affirmation, we come to, you know, like, because word affirmation is used a lot in this culture, like, you know, you're good job, great, you know. Sometimes coming in from an Indonesian family, actually we don't use that a whole lot. So it sounded like but we have to practice to, you know, to hear it and to say it also, you know.
But no, I think in general for Asian culture, not to generalize, but also to generalize, for our cultures,
You're allowed.
yeah, there's a lot more acts of service gitu kan. We just do things for each other, for our parents. The service is in that, the ibadah is in the service, the doing, the bir al-walidain, not so much verbally gitu. Bilang I love you, apa sih? Yeah, of course I love you, I'm your parent or I'm your child, of course I love you. So, but yeah, we're more of a service-oriented culture, and we can learn, and as we learn and grow and diversify, inshallah, that will make our giving of love and receiving of love more full, more interesting. Yeah,
Because it's, you know, because our children, if they're, you know, if not even just to born and raised over here, but if they spend general of the childhood here, they would get that from school or daycare or their friends group. And so that it's when we do that too, I think, you know, like I'm seeing it, they're very receptive, like that word of affirmation. And it's so cheap. I mean, if you really think about it, there's no dollar sign to do that. But for someone, a lot of us are, you know, like we were born and raised in Indonesia. And so when we come here, this is a good adapt to actually, you know, to acquire for our, you know, for our children, especially as they grow older and they have, you know, their mobility becoming bigger. That word, it's like magic, because you type it in, or the ending of your phone call will be like, I love you, instead of don't forget to Salat Isha.
Itu juga, don't forget to Salat Isha and I love you.
I love you.
But not like don't forget to Salat Isha or you'll be in Jahannam. Okay, no. Stop. Let's stop there. I also want to lift up the voices in the chat. So yeah, siapa yang kalau you don't want to speak on your microphone, feel free to type in the chat and I'll raise it. So somebody, Imsa's sister mentioned, acknowledging that we are wrong and that we are imperfect in front of the kids. My kids are not teens yet, that's fine. I also found that it's a powerful way to get to connect with them and to show humility to them. Tapi jangan terlalu banyak mistake-nya sih. Yeah. That is so important, I think, even when their kids are young, not just when they're teens, but learning to say, I'm sorry, that modeling behavior tadi, like Mbak Ira, you were sharing, you're the one thanking yourself, so they learn how to thank you. And also acknowledging, oh, I made a mistake as well. And for them to kind of learn about one of the struggles we have in our community in general is shame, malu, aib,
Yeah.
when it relates to making mistakes. And this can lead to a lot more bigger mistakes and pain in future when you are not used to being open with the small mistakes.
Yeah.
Knowing that we are wrong and acknowledging that imperfection as part of growing. Yeah, mama juga salah. Like I shouldn't have yelled at you at that time. I was angry and I was tired. Apa-apa. Yeah, your action was still wrong. Tapi mungkin my behavior was a bit too much atau apa-apa. Or just other kinds of smaller mistakes. That pattern of acknowledging your imperfection, like you said, showing the humility. My fear, and I experienced this also. Sometimes when we're not used to being open and vulnerable with our mistakes as an adult, and then the kids are also kind of learning that model. Yeah, don't say, if you say what you did wrong, you're just gonna get in trouble, number one. Or you're gonna get shamed. Ya kan malu nanti orang bilang apa. We keep talking about orang bilang apa. I don't care orang bilang apa. You bilang apa. This is about your home, your family. Orang bilang apa, that's orang punya problem.
Yep.
But your home, your family, how do you want to encourage this, the ability for them to come to you when they make a mistake rather than go to somebody else or not tell anybody at all? And one very, very sad example that really hurt me recently was from our community, from our Nusantara community. where the girl told me that she was diperkosa and she could not tell her parents. And she's older, so this happened years ago. Dia dah besar, dah dewasa, nggak ada isu, sudah dicerita, already been arranged. But so what led her to not be able to share that? Gitu.
Yeah.
She felt that if I tell them anything I do wrong, they're going to blame me. Walaupun ini issue bukan about blaming her at all. This was a complete crime incident. Something happened, but the fear, and she was an adult, so she's not a 15-year-old girl. She was an adult already. This is an older person. Tapi that same mindset of when I was young, I couldn't tell my parents this big thing happened. I couldn't tell my parents, and I felt the fear of telling my parents. They're going to say I'm a bad child. 2, they're going to make me feel bad, and like as if orang lain bilang apa, so let's not do anything about it. Let's not say anything about it. And that just made me really sad. And I'm wondering like how many of our children, our young ones are hiding things from us, from each other, that actually we want to be able to help them with. We want to be able to accompany them through that pain, even though it's hard. And even though maybe we don't know how, maybe we've also never gone through some of the things they're going through, because they're going through very different things di zaman ini compared to what we went through when we were teenagers. It's so different. Some of the things that are going on online with the cyber crime and the cyber sexuality and the like, I didn't even, when we learn about it, it's like, okay, I don't even know how to help you with this. I've never encountered this myself. Tapi all the more important that we're talking about communication and empathy and having that openness, so that we can be with them when they're going through these transition ages, especially before they leave the house. I mean, they're 18, they're going to college, then what? What else?
I'd like to bring up a little bit about the point that you brought last week, as we come to get to know what's going on in the adolescents group and what's going on in the parents part of group also. So this is when when they're actually having a lot of changes, like their ability to make the decision is not masak lagi, belum masak, it's not done. They're and that years span, not just a year or two, it's spent years. I mean, when we really think about it, between 5 to 7 years, it's that magic years where if we bring it down to when they were little, by 7 years old, they were taught to start praying. And then the next, from that teen to 21 to 20, it's another 7 years of struggle making the right decision. And yet, again, if we just don't see that label, again, speaking about being empathy to our children, we're gonna miss a whole lot. And then not just to parent them, but we also, as someone who is growing during that difficult year, we will be missing out an opportunity to be a better self too. So it's very, I look at it that way, since you brought it up to a point where, it's that empathy is such a big, but I don't want to stress it out so that, we're like, oh my God, where do I start now? Yeah. But, it's something that we can start at any time.
Okay. Yeah.
At any time. And I do, I'm going through that myself right now in that difficult year's time. And, I look forward in growing with everybody here in this class, in using the tool that you're going to be sharing with us throughout.
Yeah.
So I just want to remind everybody also, Ramadan is coming up, is the time where we, soften our heart. So look forward for more, tips and tools from Chaplain Sakinah.
I'll just add one more point on that. It's also from the opposite perspective. Sometimes the children don't want to tell the adults or the parents things because they're afraid. And sometimes it's because they kasihan the orang tua.
Yeah.
So I've had also teens come to me and say like, oh, I don't want to stress my parents. Like, I know they're very kind and they want to help me, but you know, dad is having a difficult time at work. I heard that he lost his job atau he had COVID, jadi gajinya nggak masuk begitu. And the mom is stressing out with adik because adik is having problems in school. Jadi aku nggak mau tambah. I don't want to add problem on my parents because I love them. I will try to sort this out by myself. Jadi that angle is also really important. It's not like, oh, all the parents are just scary parents and the kids don't want to talk to you. That's not what I'm saying at all. There's different things that's going on within our own family and within our own community. Kan? Sometimes, yeah, genuinely, your kids are very mature and they're very caring and they're very kind and they see you, the parents, going through difficulty and they don't want to pour more things on you.
Yeah.
So again, that kind of maybe like what Ainur mentioned, the humility to say, yeah, nggak apa-apa, we are all sometimes going through difficult times, kan? Tapi we, as a family, we want to go through these things together. Not just you go through your difficulty, me go through my difficulty. Tapi, of course, certain things, yeah, we're not sharing with the children. Tapi, yeah, how just that awareness that your kids love you and sometimes they don't want to bring their problems to you because they want to protect you, not the other way. You're protecting them and they're trying to protect you also, which is really sweet.
MashaAllah. So the 5 languages of love is so far that we've talked about the physical touch, quality time, words of affirmation, and gift. And then act of service.
Okay, we'll jump into the next section as we head towards the toolbox for empathy. Let's start. I think one of the most powerful beginnings of empathy is curiosity and compassion. 2 C's. Compassion is still generally kita have that feeling of rahmah kan, yang hari-hari bismillahirrahmanirrahim, berpuluh-puluh kali sehari bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ada enggak rahmah sama rahimnya di dalam aku ini? That's the main point. Allah, we want that ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, bismillahirrahmanirrahim in us, and we want to be agents of love and agents of ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So that's the first C, the curiosity, the compassion. The second C is curiosity. To really want to know what's going on in somebody's head or heart or mind or feeling. Walaupun maybe it's messy or confusing, walaupun maybe you assume, kayak video tadi kan, like, oh, I know what she's thinking. Well, do you? Maybe not fully. Maybe you know half the story and you're not going to find out the other half of the story unless you're genuinely curious, unless you're genuinely the other person feels you really want to hear. And for me, even macam in a way, in my role as a chaplain, like communication skills is like one of the most important things, listening skills. And even for me, like if I want to share something with somebody, I won't do it unless I really feel that I trust that person really wants to know and really wants to listen. Kalau tidak, it's very hard for me to why would I want to expose what is messy inside me to somebody who I think, well, you don't really care, you don't really have much compassion, you don't really have much curiosity, you just want to know, and then you're gonna like argue with me or something. Why would I expose myself like that? So just that awareness for us to, and ini bukan by words kan, sometimes we tell somebody, oh no, I really want to know what you think. Tapi we don't believe the person who said that, right? Has that happened to you sometimes? Like, oh yeah, I want to ask you, I really want to know. Tapi in our mind, we're like, no, not really. I think you're not asking because you want to know. You're asking because penasaran mau gossip atau apa. Bukan because curiosity for compassion, curiosity for gossip kali. So we know, like our hearts know when people are being genuine and really interested and really curious from a place of compassion, not from a place of nak cari gaduh and to fight with me or fight for conflict or something. And that can make a huge difference in how much somebody will expose to us. And from the aspect of religion topics also. So sometimes we interact with each other, with our youth or children. We're like, oh, I want your opinion when it comes to like, what do you want to have for dinner? Or should we go for ice cream or chocolate, or where do we want to go on vacation? Tapi mungkin we don't really think about asking their opinion on religious matters. Bab religion atau spirituality, yang nggak apa-apa, nanti ibu sama bapak decide and you all just follow because, you know, this is religious stuff, we know better. And yet I like this example from, not Rasulullah, from Nabi Ibrahim alaihi salam, when he was talking to his son Nabi Ismail about itu kan, one of the most critical, I would say, like incidences and stories that changed the trajectory of our seerah, of our deen. And when Nabi Ibrahim had the dream, he spoke to his son, wahai anakku, oh my son, sesungguhnya aku bermimpi bahawa aku menyembelihmu. Indeed, I saw in a dream that I should sacrifice you. So I want to know what you think. I want to see what you think. Fandur daripada undur, which is to see, but you also use it for like, I want to see what's your opinion gitu kan. Fandur madha tara. I want to know your opinion. Ra'i is opinion. I want to know your opinion. I want to know pendapatmu. I want to know what you think. To me, so this is Nabi sama Nabi kan, Nabi Ibrahim, Nabi antara yang Nabi paling hebat sama Nabi Ismail, asking his opinion on a religious matter, a religious spiritual matter. And Nabi Ismail was young, he was still a child, he was not an adult in this time, he wasn't a companion, he was a child. And so it reminds me sometimes when it comes to even big religious matters about including the voice of the youth, including the voice of the young, inviting, not just including, inviting and asking and genuinely doing that from a place of curiosity. Tadi bilang kan, I'm curious, like I really want to know what your opinion is. Number two, this is going to impact you. My decision is going to impact you. What I choose for this family in this topic of deen, whatever the religion topic might be, is going to impact you. And so I should want to know what your opinions are of this also. And of course, we might still decide whatever we decide. We might still need to do a particular way that is against what the child or the youth is saying. Of course, that will happen. I'm not saying that we just take what they say and we must do what they say. Tapi proses kan, yang lebih penting is the process. Many times people will say, well, it's not what he did, it's how he did it. It's not what he said, it's how he said it. And it's true, it's the how can matter a lot more than what it is. So the process of you making a decision on a religious matter for the family, and including the members in your process, including the youth, whether you're doing this like in the context of a school, Islamic school, or Sunday school activity, atau apa-apa, to genuinely listen and get their opinions, is an example from our Sunnah, of Sunnah Nabi Ibrahim in this context. It's not just, sometimes people say, yeah, ini American style, yeah, you want the opinion of the kids, ya apa-apa, you want to ask the opinion of the kids, ini American style. Ya American style atau Nabi Ibrahim style ini sebenarnya. To me, it's Nabi Ibrahim style. So it's already in our deen. Let me see, do we have, let's maybe, what do you think, Laili? Should we do this a little bit after the toolbox, just to make sure we get through the toolbox and then we can come back to this reflection?
Yeah. Let's do the toolbox first.
We'll come back here. Something, yes. What did somebody say? Google. Okay. Okay, we'll come back to this. So we're gonna jump into the toolbox for empathy. You need, like, I just want to do like a few quick tips on what might be useful when you're trying to approach a conversation with empathy, or just live in general with more empathy. Withholding judgment, which is not judging. Not judging, I don't know. Yeah, not judging somebody, or even awareness. Yeah, I know I'm making a judgment. Yeah, dia kalau pakai begitu, that means she's like this, or if she says that means he's like this. Those assumptions and judgments are in our heads, tapi it helps to be aware of them. Like, oh, okay, that's in my head. I'm thinking this about this person. Nggak semestinya benar. Might not be true, right? With our children. The friends that they have, the friends might look a certain way, therefore the friends must be like this. again, coming back with curiosity, get to know the friends, not make assumptions that if they come from this community, therefore they're going to be bad or good or whatever. Get to know before judging, and even still, acceptance, having sincerity. Another important part we're going to go through a little bit is being silent, the power of the language of silence, not just talking necessarily, and then how to be more comfortable with not having the answers, with not knowing, with not having answers, even if it's religious topics, especially if it's religious topics. Sometimes I think when the youth are asking questions that we don't know how to answer, kita mungkin grow up ya solat aja, nggak pernah tanya why do I have to pray, and then suddenly your 12-year-old is coming like, why do I have to pray? My friends don't have to solat. Why do I have to solat? And we never really thought about it, but now you got to figure out an answer. And maybe the answer is you don't quite know. And then maybe the answer is you're going to try and find out together and be comfortable with that and knowing that and exploring that more. Often what I see with religion, being a chaplain, like I get to talk with a lot of people about their own process of religion and spirituality. And many times it's that when people don't know, they respond with anger atau defensiveness, right? So even people who say, no, I was asking my pastor about what happens in life after death, or then, they start like being a little bit defensive or angry or something. Instead of just saying, I don't really know, maybe I don't know, and then having that conversation, being comfortable with not knowing rather than pushing back out of insecurity and not knowing, and then that cuts off even the communication and curiosity from the youth. Yeah, okay, then I'm just not going to ask, because every time I ask, mama gets mad. Tapi mama get mad because mama tak tahu sebenarnya, mama pun belum belajar agama, jadi mama pun tak tahu these answers, so we can discover together. And the power of asking them, what do you think is the answer? And then having that discussion, they probably have some thoughts already about it, and then you can have that conversation together. What's the difference between accompanying versus fixing, and then being vulnerable and sharing grief? And okay, so let's go into let's play this, and then we will need to share screen.
It's coming up.
No, you can't take my rocket to the top. Riley and I are going to the moon.
Sorry, could you hear the audio?
Yes, it's clear.
Let me expand the thing.
No, you can't take my rocket to the top. Riley and I are going to the moon. Riley can't be done with me.
Hey, it's gonna be okay. We can fix this. We just need to get back to headquarters. Which way to the train station?
I had a whole trip planned for us.
Hey, who's ticklish, huh? Here comes the tickle monster. Hey, Bing Bong, look at this. Oh, here's a fun game. You point to the train station and we all go there. Won't that be fun? Come on, let's go to the train station.
I'm sorry they took your rocket. They took something that you loved. It's gone. Forever.
Sadness. Don't make him feel worse.
Sorry.
It's all I had left of Riley.
I bet you and Riley had great adventures.
Oh, they were wonderful. Once we flew back in time. We had breakfast twice that day.
Sadness.
It sounds amazing. I bet Riley liked it.
Oh, she did. We were best friends.
Yeah, it's sad.
I'm okay now. Come on. The train station is this way.
That's very interesting.
What are you seeing on the screen now?
Right now, I'm seeing at the beginning of that slide, the movie that you just shared right now.
All right, so the little clip demonstrated some of the skills in our toolbox, and we'll go through them a little bit more. How sometimes when somebody is going through something difficult, whether it's your child or your spouse, we're trying to quickly get them out of it to that happy place. Tapi the way emotions work is that until the emotions are processed and released, they still stay in you. They stay in your body, they stay in your mind, they stay in your heart. And then trying to bypass that emotion is not necessarily helpful all the time. So being able to do so in this movie, the movie is called Inside Out. I highly recommend it to all families to watch with your children. In the movie, if anybody's seen it, you can maybe comment in the chat if you've seen it and share what you thought of it. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. I recommend you watch it. It talks about the different emotions that are in a person's mind. So sadness, anger, joy, sadness, anger, joy, there's 5. It's slipping my mind now. So those emotions are the little cartoon ini kan that's playing in our mind. And the movie is about a family that moves to San Francisco from Michigan or somewhere. Jadi in that time, the children are going through a transition kan. They lose their friends, they move house, and it explores what is going on in their mind on the different emotions and also in the parents' mind. So you get to see how the emotions are working inside you through this movie, and I think they did a wonderful way. They had psychologists also involved in the making of this. We use it a lot when we train therapists and psychologists, also and chaplains.
And I think in the chat room, there's someone chiming in. I think one of the feeling is discuss. Discuss,
yeah. Discuss, benar. Inside Out.
What is the name of the movie?
I typed it in the chat, namanya Inside Out.
Oh, Inside Out, okay.
Jadi from inside our head is the emotions, inside our heart, and then it comes out gitu kan. And I love one of the scenes that they had, which is something that happens all the time in our families at the dinner table kan, mother, father, anak-anak having dinner together. So you see what's happening at the dinner table, and then in the cartoon also you see what is going on in their heads, the real emotion. Jadi kalau yang ini bapaknya tengah marah or something happened, and then what's going on inside the mom, what's going on inside the child. It's really fascinating, and it's very real. It's very real. And it helps kids to talk about emotions. So when we watch this movie, I use it sometimes for like camps. We had like Islamic summer camp, weekend camps, Ramadan camps with kids in Malaysia. And I used this video to teach the kids the language about emotions so that they know like, oh, ini namanya, ini marah, this feeling that I'm feeling kayak, they don't have the word for it yet. Okay, that's anger, that's marah. Now, how do I express this? I can tell my parents and my parents can talk to me about it. And so kind of teaching younger children the language around emotions. And then the parents also in the same room. So the parents are also watching this. It gives the family like a foundation of a common language to talk about these things. You don't have to make your own textbook lah. In a way, kan textbooknya will be this cartoon, and it's very helpful. Okay, so with Withholding Judgment, I like this little cartoon about sometimes we tell people like, no, you shouldn't feel bad. Kan you have a lot of nikmat dalam hidup. You shouldn't feel upset. Ini mama baba kasih, you punya uang, punya education, punya ini. Jadi why are you so? You don't know your friends di kampung-kampung lagi, going through a more difficult life. Yeah, but the point is that's still what they're feeling. And now they feel bad about whatever they're feeling bad, they also feel guilt and they feel shame because they feel bad. So again, we talk about the balance. Somebody else mentioned earlier, yeah, benar, we need to remember Rasulullah SAW also taught us to be syukur, to have gratitude, to remember yang kita punya banyak nikmat. Jadi walaupun tengah down, jangan terus-terus selalu sering down.
Yeah.
But also to have a kind of balance. That doesn't mean Rasulullah SAW denied people from feeling grief, which he didn't. There were many times he cried and companion cried, and he sat with the grief first. And then comes the processing towards syukur, not immediately judging somebody for the difficulty that they are experiencing. Second is accepting.
A little bit, Chaplain,
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned about like teaching it from the young age of the emotion. We're all very familiar with the song "When You're Happy and You Know It, Clap Your Hand," like so on and so on. But I think would it be also beneficial for the older kids to also just to go back to that again, because life can get so busy, and then social media on our handheld all the time, and that brings the isolation, like just by verbalizing it to our children around the house. And then just to kind of not just to use the questions, how is your day today, but getting in touch with those feeling, I think can also be beneficial, because the title will be, yes, I'm okay, I'm happy, I'm good,
I'm fine.
right? But when we just ask, so what bothers you today? So what's disgusting about today? What's what makes you mad today? Whenever they're actually coming in home and feeling happy, that will help, they will sort out their days, and at the same times we have a little window to their entire day.
Yeah. And sometimes that starts with us sharing what happened, like, oh, I was okay today, but actually I got mad about this conversation I had with somebody, or I got mad when the mailman threw our package and it koyak or broke or something. And then kind of, again, the modeling kan. So there's, oh, what did I do then when I got mad? I take a deep breath, or I drink water, or I just make a dhikr for a few seconds. And then, like you said, inviting your teens to ask also, what did you feel? What were you saying? Like you used the way you said something specifically was struck me just now.
Just what because I was just saying, like, what's disgusting about today, what's what makes you mad about today, because it's like a little window to to their days, not just the result of the day, because the result of the day, we see it when they walked into the house. That's the result of the day, but that may not be, because a lot of time that is not the truth for their entire day feeling, like is they could start like by getting late, waking up, everything is rushed, and then happy they make it class on time, and the hallway monitor did not call them. And then class is great, second session is awful because somebody who's sitting next to me is so stinky from PE or from gym class that my entire class was just like completely awful. But then, the teachers say something, or the topic was interesting, and I got to move around to another corner of the classroom. So just go on and on and on. Really, if we have 8 hours a day at work, they also may have like 6 hours or 8 hours worth of stories that, that we may miss out if we don't ask that questions. But I was just going back to that point where like it's I think it's also important to put that label, to use those feelings again, the labels of those feelings in with our older kids, not kids, teenager, like almost an adult. Because it's we that is also the one thing that that we may also get, slip off a bit because we think that they're big in their sizes, as because we are that they know everything, what we have taught them all these years, while they're still in that period where, like it's everything is so out of whack. Like their hormone is out of whack, their body is growing so tall, they're lanky, and everything is, there's so much changes, and in that period of life, that when we just, I think it's actually a comfort, just like when we watch like a movie that we've watched when we were little, Little House on the Prairie, or Upin and it bring comfort. Sesame Street, it bring comfort to us. Oh, like, and I think getting in touch with those feeling also can be very beneficial for, just to bring it up, using it on daily basis. What do you think?
I agree. I was right also confirming the 5 emotions and 5 feelings. I'm putting that in the chat also. And lifting up, fear was one we didn't mention, and that's an important one. What were they afraid of, or what are they worried about? Worry, fear, it related to the same theme. There's something called the emotions wheel. Kalau di Google, you can find feeling wheel or emotions wheel. I should have put the picture. It has the 5 core emotions inside, and then outside of it, and you can find it in Bahasa Indonesia also. I think if you try emotions wheel Bahasa Indonesia also, it's there. So there's other emotions that are tied to those core emotions. Jadi kalau dari joy atau happiness itu core-nya, tapi feeling relief, lega, that feeling of lega is part of joy. Feeling tenang, peaceful, is part of joy. Kalau anger, kayak feeling agitated. Kadang-kadang we're not angry, but we're feeling macam a little tense, a little agitated right here. So that's part of anger. It's not a strong anger, but it's part of anger. Kalau feeling confused, confused could be under fear, because we're confused about something. It comes from we're not sure, and so the core is fear. So that wheel of emotions wheel and feelings wheel is really helpful kadang-kadang for us to narrow down what exactly is the core emotion that I'm feeling, or the core emotion that my child might be feeling. Because we might not be able to process immediately, or actually I'm angry. Like, this took me a long time also. For some people, it's easy for them to realize they're angry. For me, no, I don't feel that anger very quickly. I'll feel upset, I feel agitated, I'll feel annoyed. Then I realized, itu sebenarnya semua anger. I'm actually angry. The agitation, the annoyance, the upset, it's anger. So, now that I know it, then I can express it, and then I can discuss it, and then it can flow out. Okay, kalau nggak flow out, it will stay in. Jadi makan hati. So the ability to be more comfortable with those emotions, as you were saying, with each other, with the children, and then as we connect back to the love language, sometimes they may not be verbal. You may be asking them 20 times a day, and their answer is still I'm fine. Jadi harus be creative also, like how, what are your techniques with some children? You go for a car ride and they like to talk somehow when they're in the car with you, and the car is moving and they don't have to look at your face and they're looking outside, and then suddenly all the stories come out. Or with some, it's like while you're playing with the animals or the cats and something, and then you kind of weave in this conversation there. It might not be just like face-to-face direct. That might not work with some children. So your child, better, and also you also might need to learn and experiment and try different things.
That is so true. Over boba.
Incentives sometimes work. I'm not against incentivizing conversations. I'm more open over boba. Okay, let's come back here. So we had the acceptance and sincerity. If somebody's feeling sad or angry or something, sometimes we're like, aren't you gonna tell me to cheer up, or aren't you gonna tell me to get over my anger, or don't be angry? Yeah, I will, inshallah, I will get over my anger. Tapi in this moment, I'm still angry. In this moment, I'm still sad. Just give me that moment, accept that moment of my anger and sad. before we jump into the processing of, okay, letting it go and processing and istighfar and all that. In that moment, just accompany that person through whatever. I still like you, like the dinosaur was saying, I still like you when you're sad. I still like you when you're angry. I'm still your mom when you're sad, when you're angry. I'm still your dad when you're sad, when you're angry, when you're upset, when you're feeling shame. I'm still here. That's a really powerful message. I'm still here. I still love you. Whatever headache you're going through, I'm here. I love you. Putting faces together. And it doesn't have to make sense. Sometimes you don't even know. I think especially you were mentioning, Laili, like in that age, sometimes they don't know what they're feeling. You know, they're like body is changing, hair is growing, voice is changing, and feeling things that they've never felt before, and things don't make sense in so many ways. And again, that sort of strong, stable, consistent presence of like, it's okay if things are hard. It's okay if things don't make sense. It's okay if it's messy and confusing. But we're a family, and I'm not going anywhere. That affirmation can be really powerful in that young age, especially for them to come back to when they're ready. Next, briefly, is about, we talked about this a bit earlier, silence and being comfortable with not knowing. Sometimes I feel like in our home environments, I'm not saying everybody's home, I'm not saying your home, I don't know what is in your home. Some homes are very loud and noisy, and the TV is on, nobody's watching the TV, but the TV is on, and then the WhatsApp group, Sinetron, whatever, from somewhere else is on, and there's also Quran is on in the kitchen, and then it's like just all this noise when everybody comes home, when people are coming in and out. I'm not saying that's wrong, I'm just saying that sometimes if you want to be more intentional about inviting the voices of those around you, then you might want to make space for those voices by having a little bit more silence, a bit more peace, a bit more quietness in the home. And then those voices are able to fill that space rather than filling the space with other voices and the TV and the noise and the music and everything very loudly. Even if it's Quran and you have Quran playing 24 hours a day, you're still, maybe somebody might feel like, okay, then I don't need to speak, right? There's already the Quran playing. There's time, inshallah, we want the Quran playing, and also there's time that maybe you want to actually sit down and have a deeper conversation with each other. And so curating that space, making it intentional to have a little bit more peace, a little bit more Sakinah in your home in some way that you can, or a space in your home where you do that. Yeah. Especially in Ramadan, inshallah, to have that opportunity. More people, you'll be having more meals together, inshallah, at least iftar together, mungkin sahur together, kan? The schedules are a little bit more aligned.
I was gonna said that, but it's I think we're going on the same line over here. But that Ramadan is such a wonderful opportunity. I also would like to bring up just something that we have on daily basis, like when we like it's on the TV itself, when the TV is on, especially if it's like an Indonesian TV. What I notice also is that when even if it's like on the main news prime time, there is at the bottom, there is it's a busy screen. I don't know if it's just me who noticed it, but there is an advertising at the bottom and then on the side also, and then there's this background music as if the TV is screaming to the audience, look at me, and still look at me for the next 2 minutes. Oh, wait a minute, there's something shiny and moving at the corner. Also, look at me again, don't divert it to other things. And here it is, the situation that we wanted, like we talked about, bringing up the Sakinah moment at home. While even if the TV is unmuted, I think the blinking of the light itself, it's already, it's a lot, or the body language. Like there's so much in the silence of you just watching and staring at the TV, even without any sound. Your body language said something like, I am watching the TV. I'm not available. Yes. Yes. Yeah, that is, I love a Rumi poem, because when one of them is, and he says, the quieter you become, the more you are able to hear.
The quieter you become, the more you're able to hear.
All you are able to hear.
Right, we're coming to the end of the session. A couple more slides. Oh, this is something we're so good at. We always want to fix things and change things. I think that's natural. And at the same time, when it comes to emotions and communication, especially in a time of difficulty, we don't always need to be able to fix things. And we can't. Sebenarnya, actually, that's the bigger realization, that I can't really fix this for you. But what I can do is accompany you through this. And even if I can fix it, because I'm your parent and I probably know how to fix it, let that be the next step. For the first step, it's like, I'll accompany you, I'll witness you. You know, when we say the shahada, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Shahada, shaheed, that kalima is coming from a witnessing, a testifying, a witnessing act. So it's not just saying, and it's not just like, it's not changing. It's like, it's that act of witnessing and testifying. And I like to reflect on that when we like accompany somebody who's going through pain and difficulty also as a chaplain. Like, you are doing a lot of that shahada. I am your witness. I am your witness. I am the one who will testify that this pain is real, that this anger is real, and it has an impact on you. And maybe it's transformational, and maybe it's healing. But before we even get to that fixing or changing or whatever, this is an important part of the process, the accompanying and the witnessing and the being there, the presence first, and then the next step. If the next step even comes, often actually even just that first step already has resolved a lot of the pain and the difficulty. And this slide relates to that also, just that vulnerability and being able to share grief. And being the parent or being the adult also doesn't mean you have to be like strong all the time, and you have to be like happy all the time, and you have to hide all your problems from your children. There's a lot of magic, I think, that comes with an adult, which says, I'm having a tough time. Can you take me for boba? I'm having a tough time. Can you just come and sit with me and bring the kitten and let's play together for a while? What kind of a relationship is that, Kan? Especially as your children get older, into that teen age, for them to feel like, oh, okay, like I can provide also comfort to my parent. I can also provide this healing connection to my parent. It's not just this way, and that's really, really powerful for them to learn that relationship. And as they get older, inshallah, that will become more and more true. And in many ways, also the older, as we age, we are the ones that are now also providing comfort and accompaniment for our older parents.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, the last slide. And just I want to mention this awareness. Sometimes kita tak perasan, we may say like, oh, you're a boy, so you shouldn't cry, or you're a boy, you shouldn't behave like your sister, dari segi emotions, things like that. And we have a lot of this, sometimes with gender, sometimes with age. You're already 15, like why are you feeling like, why are you fighting about this like you're a 7-year-old? Maybe there's something there, maybe that, for again to come back into that non-judgment and trying to be a little bit more curious about what's going on, and also be aware of what I will call it danger, like the danger of claiming things like, well, you're a man, you're a boy, you shouldn't feel this way, or you're this age, you shouldn't feel upset about this because you're older. Where is that coming from? Where is that coming from? So again, even in our sunnah, Rasulullah said, tears are a sign of mercy from Allah. Whatever age you are, whatever gender you are, kalau Rasulullah SAW bisa nangis, bisa show emotion, then who are we to say that those things are wrong? Or who are we to say that those things are unhealthy? So just want to encourage that openness, whatever gender your child is, whatever age your child is, and even for each other, even as adults, sometimes we have this mindset. Ya, kenapa dia yang emotion gitu kan? Yeah, emotion itu whatever age you are, you have. It's not about an age thing. It's not about a gender thing also. And to be more aware of that, be more encouraging of that, especially if you're raising young men. And these young men are going to grow and not know what to do with their emotions because they've never maybe had much opportunity to express it or to learn how to process it. And like, this is a feminine thing, and then they're holding all that inside. And sometimes it comes up later as unprocessed grief, as anger, as all these weird things that are not resolved, and can be dangerous. So just an awareness of that. And just the last part, that as much as we try our best, we're not a machine, and on different days it's easier, some days it's harder. Some days, ya Allah, rasa kayak nak pecah kepala, pecah hati, like I cannot take this anymore. And then other days, macam, oh, this is going good. I'm a good parent, not too bad, alhamdulillah. And that will look different on each day. And so the important thing is, again, the awareness. What's your check engine light and what's your child's check engine light? Kayak mobil kan, like in our cars, and certain light comes up and you're like, oh, okay, maybe the oil is low, or maybe the gas is low, maybe there's a problem with the temperature. What's that for you? Like, how do you know when your whatever is low, your spirituality side tengah feeling low, iman tengah feeling low, atau mental capacity tengah feeling low, or your physical health tengah feeling low, and then for your child as well. So what are some, being more aware of your own check engine lights, so that you can, inshallah, find what rest and the comfort and the rejuvenation that you need to be able to continue. And we end on this note, and we have a few minutes for questions. Actually, we should probably close. When you can't see the way through, said the boy, can you see your next step? Then just take that one step at a time, even if it feels overwhelming and full. And sometimes you can't even see what is the next step. Can you just take a breath? And yes, so we take a breath. We say, Alhamdulillah. We say, Subhanallah. We say, Allahu Akbar. We say, Astaghfirullah. And we ask Allah to grant barakah and ease as we take our breath and our steps in this journey.
I think this is maybe a good time for that reflection, tafakur tadabbur slide, before we open it up to the audience a little bit.
Okay.
Zoom chat.
So if you would like to reflect on anything we've talked about today, these are what I've written on the slide. But if you have other thoughts or reflections that's coming into your mind, feel free to comment in the chat, ataupun you want to unmute and share. Maybe
yes. Where we are accepted ourselves is not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So we can stumble in the problem when we are weak, or when we are emotion, like sad, and then how we can process all that, the feeling or the anger toward yourself or toward to other. And then you are not robot, you have the feeling.
Yeah. That question itself requires like at least an hour. Tapi I love that you mentioned that, because to me the first big step of processing your own emotions and anger and feeling is awareness. Jadi as soon as we can have that realization and kita perasan like, oh, I tengah marah or I'm upset or something. As soon as we know that, half of like the tenseness emotion itu udah resolve sikit tau. Half of it is almost not gone, but kalau tidak, we are stuck in that, like you don't know what you're feeling, you're not thinking about it, it's just sort of stuck in your mind, in your body, in your heart. So Mbak Alifia The fact that you can notice, yeah, I'm really upset sekarang kan. Itu half of the battle. I'm really upset. I know I'm angry. Now the next step, you need to study yourself and your level of self-awareness. And that's why self-awareness is so important. Kalau ada,
use the 5 core of emotion.
Yeah.
Like make the wheel, make them move or process to change upset to become to let it go, you know, to accept it or something.
To accept it, to process it. So for different people, I always recommend different approach. Tapi it depends on your what works for you. For some people, it's like, okay, aku mau duduk diam-diam. I just want to sit. I want to ngaji Quran for half an hour, for 10 minutes or whatever. And that helps to calm me down. And then, okay, then I want to talk to the person I'm angry at or something. For some people, it might be, okay, I want to call my friend and churhat and tell my friend about this thing I'm angry about. And that might help a person. For some people, it's like, I want to get out of the house. I want to go jogging. I don't want to see anybody's face. And I just want to go to the park or jogging or something. And that helps them. So, balik kembali kepada that self-awareness of what works for you in processing those emotions. And sometimes it's a combination. You udah jogging, masih marah. Udah curhat, masih marah. Udah ngaji, masih marah. Okay. So, what?
Need to talk about it.
Need to talk about it. And there's a difference also why people need professional help, because it's not, talking to your friend is not the same as talking to a therapist or a chaplain. Or there's a reason there's professionals also for different things. If it's at a level that you feel you need a different level of help, then seek help. I have a therapist, I have a counselor, I have my other chaplain friends that I talk to as a consultation, not just as friends. Gitu lain gitu kan. So seeking help, not being ashamed of needing help and calling for help. Because niatnya you want to improve yourself and be better, so we can be a better servant of Allah. So we can
get from all the sort, you know, I mean, like reading the book and then listen to a lot of lecture, you know.
Dari pasang telenovela, pasang ya lecture siapa-siapa, emotions, Omar Sulaiman ke, psychologist ke.
Boleh.
I shared a little book in the chat, namanya Little Book of Big Emotions. Tipis, small. I have it upstairs. Small book, tipis. It's in English, but simple. And I think it's good for teens. Teens juga bisa. Teens and parents. And it talks about those 5 emotions, kayak how you know what you're feeling, and if you're feeling certain things or your child is feeling certain things, how might they behave? And also the body. So it talks about kalau kita marah, actually kita bisa, kalau we pay attention, we feel like our face
tight on your jaw.
Tight on the jaw, tight on the back. Or if we're feeling fear, takut, fear, we might have like stomach pain gitu, kayak gastric. Tapi actually there's some emotional things that are going on. Or you feel light. So the book is small, but I recommend it if you're interested to study about emotions. The big theories of emotions, tapi they make it very simple, very easy.
They have in PDF?
Mungkin kayaknya ada. If you Google, I think you just search.
Okay, I will do. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments, either whether based on the reflection questions that I posted in the chat? I don't want to put the slide up. I've put it in the chat, so at least we can see your face, or you can see our face.
I also would like to just in one of the slide that, you know, like we can be sat together, we can be just mad together. And that again required the Sakinah, which is the silence that you know, like what you said, you promote it. And, you know, like for our teenager, like when they're mad, like they can be very loud, and, you know, not just loud, the language that they use, you know, I do use English, but it's not the common youth language that they, you know, that they have with their friends. Because sometimes, a lot of times I would be taken back the usage of the language, that whenever they're retelling the story, especially if I have their friends also at the, you know, at the table, it can be just quite vulgar, or just the way they say things to me is like, oh my God. But your slide, I think it's very powerful that I would like to, to invite all of our audience to even just try it, because I tried it and it's not easy. We can be mad together, or we can be sad together, or we can just be a good listener and then just bite our tongue so hard so that they can, they can get their emotions out, or the story, what they're trying to say or tell. Because sometimes the story doesn't end with an anger. Sometimes the story can end with an acceptance of being angry, or an acceptance of my friend accept me that I'm being angry. This doesn't need a resolution, but just need to be heard. And I think that in itself is quite powerful.
It is very powerful, and not just with teens and children. In the hospital, I see this like all the time. Kan, kalau patient yang marah because whatever lah, their treatment didn't go well, there was a problem with their surgery or something. Grown man, angry, throwing things at the nurses. The nurses are complaining because he's throwing things at the nurses. He's yelling, making noise. And then they call the chaplain, because usually that's what happens when there's a lot of emotions. Like, call the chaplain. So chaplain comes. We come in the room and we address that. We face the anger. It's not about like, okay, he's angry, let's run, or let's ask him to stop being angry. Often the effective way is like, okay, you're pissed off.
Yeah.
I see you're pissed off. You're angry. Like, let's talk about it. What's going on? Shut the door. Okay. Like, let's match the anger sama-sama. Jadi dia pun, oh yeah, you can match my anger. Okay, let's, like, what's going on? What's all this anger about? Do you want to scream? We can scream. Let's shut the door and then we can scream together and just get the anger out first. And usually they're like, oh, okay. And either sometimes people soften quickly, or sometimes they need to process it. They're like, yeah, I do need to scream. Like, the doctor screwed up my child's surgery and now my child has to go for another surgery. I want to sue the hospital. I'm so angry. And so we let them release that, and we stay there. Like you said, we just stay there and face the very uncomfortable anger that's being thrown at you or spat out at you. And once that is released, there is a deeper trust. They trust that you won't leave them. You're not judging that anger. You're just there first. Yeah, okay. Then the next step. Okay, let's take a deep breath. Okay. Where is the anger coming from? Coming from pain kayaknya. You sayang anak you kan? You sayang anak you, ini surgery udah screwed up. They made a mistake or whatever. Now their child has to go for another surgery. Jadi angernya coming dari love. Dari love. Dari fear. I don't want to lose my child. Okay, yeah, marah, the hospital screwed up, whatever, but it's from fear. I don't want to lose my child. I love my child. That's where the anger is coming from. Now we get down, different level of emotion, different emotion completely. Now you don't have to call security anymore, right? Now you don't have to arrest the guy or ask him to leave the hospital. It's addressed, it's faced, it's released, and we can actually have a conversation now. Tapi you cannot bypass. You can't go in and tell somebody to shut up, shove the anger away. Usually doesn't. I won't say it doesn't work. I'll say it usually doesn't work.
I think it's, I think as a parents, we also will, if we take that as a one good lesson from this session, like, we also have to, not just to regulate our emotion, but to feel our emotion at, at a certain, for a period of time, and really accept it. And so that we, like, just tumpah semua rasa kan jadinya. Whether that's happiness, that's sad, or anger. Like what you said, because it's important to provide that that time period and opportunity for it to, to go.
Release.
Yes.
And I put that in the chat. You mentioned emotional regulation or deregulation. If anybody here is like the nerdy kind like me who likes to research and read or whatever, that's another important and easy read concept that you can look for. Like, how do you regulate emotion up? How do you regulate emotion down when people are so angry or so sad? Kadang-kadang anak kita punya different emotional processing. Kan some of them might have learning development struggles or emotional extreme anger, extreme sad. What are ways that we can help regulate those emotions to come back to kind of medium a little bit? Yeah. Any other comments or questions? I'm aware we're already at 7. We should close.
No, inshallah. Time passes by so quickly this time.
Kalau ada 1 or 2 more brief comments, we'll give a few seconds. Anybody wants to unmute?
Oh, the last one, what do you say? How do you regulate the emotion?
Regulate. I didn't say how because that's another lecture. I just said itu terminologinya. If you want to Google atau look for videos or
ya, saya tambahkan saja itu.
Yeah.
Untuk saya. Regulate the emotion ya.
Apa? PR. Pekerjaan rumah, is it? Homework?
No, I like to write something to make me easy to process it or remember how to do it.
Yeah, but ya itu termnya emotional regulation atau deregulation. Jadi emotional regulation or deregulation.
Okay.
Ini jenis kalau anak pulang, young child nangis-nangis marah-marah, you regulate by touch usually. You don't regulate by using words and telling them to calm down. People rarely calm down when you tell them to calm down. That's not, like touching usually is more effective when you just touch until pull, hug until the emotion comes down a bit. Then you use your words. But again, each person might be a little bit different and there's a lot of techniques. Okay, Laili, should we close?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Alifia.
Yeah.
All right, this is very, very good.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So we will still continue. I think Mbak Ladi can do some of the what is your announcements? Anything, or are you done with the announcements? What's going on in Ramadan and all that?
Yes, during the Ramadan, we're gonna have flyers on a weekly basis. We would like all of our participants to be able to get in touch with what we have talked about on the first session, and then on the second session, there will be some reflective moment, or you can you can do it at home, praktek di rumah bersama anak-anak, bersama suami bersama istri, dan juga untuk diri kita sendiri, just for our own self also, because this is such a wonderful opportunity during the Ramadan. And the 4 flyers will be curated by Chaplain Sakinah, and it's so inshallah it would be very beneficial. And I also would like to invite all of the participants to also check out our closed group chat. There is a Google form over there that you can, pour out your story or your feeling about, just if you want to isolate it for today's session, like from those 5 feelings, if you have any experiences, or if you want to learn more, or if or you just want to share with us what's going on at home over there, and we would honor the privacy, and that if we find it that there is a common theme over there, that we would be able to use it in our flyer, inshallah.
Okay.
So we come to our ending of session. Tak terasa 2 jam penuh kita bersama-sama. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. May Allah make this session be beneficial for our heart, and then that we can also use it on our daily life. It's gonna be a journey together.
I'll make dua inshallah for us and our families and our children as we end. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Rabbi ja'alni muqima as-salah wa min dhurriyyati. Rabbana wa taqabbal du'a. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين وجعلنا للمتقين إماما. Allahu latifun bi'ibadihi yarzuqu man yasha wa huwal qawiyul aziz. Ya Allah, lembutkan hati kita, hati anak-anak kita. Ya Latif, Ya Latif, Ya Latif. Rabbi habli min ladunka dhurriyatan tayyibatan innaka sami'ud du'a. Allahumma faqihu fid din wa 'allimhu ta'wil for us and for our children. Ya Allah, help us to be strong in the deen. Help us to find peace in the deen, Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Help our children and our future generations always, always, always stay in the path of Tawheed, always stay in the path of Islam and Iman. Ya Allah, help our children, our future generation to be agents of your love, agents of your Rahmah, agents of your Hidayah, Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. You have put us in this place, in this country, far away from our home, but we trust in you, Ya Allah. This whole dunya belongs to you. This whole universe belongs to you, Ya Allah. And we are here for a purpose to serve you and to get your rida and to get your love, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Ya Allah, ampunkan orang-orang tua kita, our parents, whether they are alive or whether they have passed away. Rabbi ighfir lana wa liwalidayna warhamhuma kama rabbawna sighara. Ya Allah, our parents raised us and we are trying to raise the next generation, Ya Allah, and we cannot do it without your help and we cannot do it without your guidance. And we always make mistakes and we will always make mistakes, Ya Allah. Please help us to be humble. Please help us to be sincere. Please forgive us for our mistakes. Ya Allah, we surrender our children to you. We surrender our own hearts to you, Ya Allah, Ya Rahman. Sometimes we feel like we have control over raising our children, and most days we realize we don't. We surrender them to you. We can only try, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Comfort us, Ya Allah. Make our children and our future generation the coolness of our eyes. Make our spouses the coolness of our eyes, Ya Allah. Let our homes be a place of salam, be a place of peace. Let our homes be a place that we feel safe. Let our homes be a place that our children always feel safe and loved and at peace. Let that be a feeling of Jannah in this dunya that we have in our own homes before we return to your Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la bighayri hisab, and reunite us all in Jannatul Firdaus al-A'la with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and all our loved ones. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Ya, marilah kita sama-sama tutup dengan doa kafaratul majlis. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilaik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and jazakallahu khairan. Chaplain Sakinah. We'll see you again inshallah through the flyers during Ramadan.